losses that created risk, and pushing the bottom approach and dialoguing with them basically to reduce the losses from risk and vulnerabilities and taking further for mitigations. So this group has come up as a watch group there in East Delhi, and the premise basically being to facilitate a dialogue with the local government for reducing the gap between the policies and implementation. And as a result, basically, the program delivery is much better, accountability is much better, and they participate together in the public programs now. The social media has been roped in effectively for confronting the government at times and also engaging them to draw their attention towards the risk and vulnerabilities. So thank you. You can catch up with me during the breaks for more.
Thank you very much, Shanini. As you could see, those presentations were all about the impact of these NGOs, various CSOs in their work. Now, what we will hear is the impact of government, high government level to the BFL or to the community. This is to be given by Papiloa Fulaki from Tonga Community Development Trust Fund. She belongs to high government level, and now let us see what their reaction to all of this. And Papiloa, please.
Thank you. I'm sorry that our half an hour is over, but I'll just try to tell you as much as I can before Lorna give me the signal to stop. First of all, I'd like to extend the appreciation to the chairman of GNDR and Marcus, and also Jonathan and the staff for designing such a wonderful program called VHL, Frontline. As you have heard, I'm supposed to emphasize the impact of the high level of government involvement in this program. This is a wonderful program. It came to our shores, and we have Naa here. She is an expert of running the program. Why the high government involvement in this program? Because of one thing, and I'd like to share this with you as a lesson learned. The reason why the doors of the government right up to the Prime Minister's office, because most of those people who make a difference, even our monarchy, heard it in the TV and radio program that we run. But why it draw their attention? Because this is the first program that have given to our voiceless, vulnerable people of our country a chance to share what will make a difference in their lifestyle. It's not us, staff, our chairman, and also our executive director. This program, VFL Frontline, we have passion for that. Just because the voiceless in our country has stand up straight. They feel finally the high-level people of this country take notice of us. So, Jonathan and Lucy and all of you, and so as Lorna, because it was Lorna, when she was in the board, that diverted the program to include Tonga. So, I don't have to tell you anymore how is the impact that have created in our little nation. Like internal affair, there is a program to go to the villages that the town officers and the district officers are under that internal affair. All we have to do now, or myself or another girl, give them a ring and say, could you let that 3 villages know that we're going to be there to do some work. Let alone this survey that they just shared today. But I'm only talking about what it have been done since 2009, 2011, 2013. So I can't say thank you enough. And with that, I think I've done my 3 minutes.
Okay. Thank you very much to the panelists. Let me stand because I'm small. Now, I'm sorry to say that there will be no more question and answer. Instead, we will see a video of all this impact for several minutes. And so at this point, I'd like to request each one of you to give them a big, big hand. Also to the credit that they stuck to 3 minutes each.
Now the worm is not saying the water is getting salty. Plus the water is mixed with the sea. The floodwaters was so deep here. Estimated it's about 30 feet above the roof of this highest cloud.
Kukole projectino di salvino, ngefe, kusisenza siefwe. Ifula yako yafu ni akakati kutitutio siawa.
Experiencing like flooding and taking it as something which is normal to them. They knew that is part of their lives. But when the Frontline project came in, it tried to enlighten the community members to know that they are living amidst disasters, and these disasters needed interventions.
The program is very much interested about what we think. We from the community. Because we're able to line up what are our hazards, what are the consequences that we experience, what are the possible doable things that we could do against the impacts and then the barriers.
This awareness has driven them to act. They are able to identify the major tasks that they now have to do moving forward.
Garbage na ganyan, no? Sabi natin na ang pera ay nasa basura. Kagaya sa amin, dyan sa basura niyan, pinupulot namin yung mga Tetra Paks. Ito yung binibenta at ginagawang bag.
Waste material is free here, and they have started making charcoal briquettes out of waste garbage.
When we reduce these garbage from our communities and use them in a very useful way, we can change our lives. We get money to pay our school fees for our children.
This island has more issues than Art Island. With the communities, they are prioritizing the issues on water and home gardening for food security.
We have created an active gardening community. We see now people selling and they're eating and they're still working on it.
Tamero ani aruntirana nero ko bani lang sinawa. Sekunani kani awangin nagata isa nang karike maniye.
Because of the efforts of Frontline and partnership with the community, we have realized the change. Where we have grown trees, they are now covering the place. The floods are no longer sweeping the area as it used before.
epekto sa akin personally ng Frontline, unang-una, tumaas yung antas ng pagkatao. Yung kakayahan ko nadagdagan, yung naging sa sarili ko na kaya ko rin, na hindi lang yung mataas yung karapatan na sumagot sa mga katanungan.
Wherever there is a project, let the local community be involved, let the local community put in some input, then we shall see the change, because sustainability will rely on the local people.
If you have the local communities, the local governments, you have the private sector, you have civil society, you have government around the table, then I'm sure that whatever decisions you make and whatever programs you design, they will be for the good of everybody. And that's what development should be, and that's what we're advocating for.
There is active engagement with our local government in the barangay. Whenever there is flooding or risk of flooding in the community, Buklod Tao is being summoned by the barangay council to be there to sit with the local officials.
Dahil sa Frontline, kami yung susunod na magtataguyod or magsusustain ng ginagawa, ng mga activity na ginagawa ng Buklod ng Kabataan para hindi ito mawala or malipasan ng panahon.
Even though now that the project has ended, because we have already the momentum in the advocacy implementation, other organizations now are really open into supporting the continuation of the program.
You cannot do anything in isolation. So when you bring people together, you engage them in a discussion. They are able to identify the problems, they even have the solutions. But the only problem is that they don't know how to start it. Now for us through the Frontline project, we're able to give them the skills on how to start. Then my question would be, how then would it be if we implement it in all the villages, in all the districts? Let the international communities, the issue makers come on board and help us. So that now we can disseminate this information, we can share our experiences, we can share our expertise, and at the end of it all, the world will be a better place for us to live.
Foundation for Peoples of the South Pacific in Kiribati, Development Network of Indigenous Voluntary Organizations in Uganda, the NIVA, and Center for Disaster Preparedness in the Philippines for the shots that we saw in the video. They do not just reflect these countries, but they reflect all the work that we have done in the Frontline. So I leave you now to thank the panel.
I just want to say one sentence. You know, views from the frontline, as others may say, is just a tool, a research tool, but then it created awareness and a tool for advocacy that had an impact, as we could see, impact on communities, resilience, impact on partnership, impact on policies, and then on capacity development of organizations and their work, and on partnership, and then the influence on the government side on how they appreciated the information that we gathered and we shared to them. So at this point, I'd like to thank every one of you, every one of us who are involved in the Frontline.
With sense words, vote of thanks for all of us for the hard work that we have been doing through the years, and that visibility for local voices, expanding local choices and options, giving faces to the faceless. So we want all these impacts to continue on with Views from the Frontline 2019, and maybe Views from the Frontline 2022, and so forth. So I leave you now to think about also, as we break now for the next sessions and for our tea break, how can we contribute to this? What can I do? What can my organization do? What can we all do together to be stronger together through the Frontline, Views from the Frontline program? So you can either think about it, but you can also write it down and send it to us.
Thank you, Lorna. Thank you very much. You know, I'm watching, I haven't seen that video before, and I'm aware that some of you around the room were involved in the initiation, you know, of Views from the Frontline, what, 9 years ago? And it's incredible to me I find it quite inspiring, quite emotional actually, when I look at the impact and hear some of the words that people are talking about in terms of the impact that program is having. It's wonderful to see, and I also hear a lot of passion and frustration and desire that we want more of this. It needs to be in more countries, in more communities. The voices need to be louder, the views need to be stronger. And I'm sitting here reflecting on all the work that has taken place, the thousands and thousands of views and voices that have been shared, that you have gathered, that you have been involved in, many, many members who have been involved in this in different parts of the world over the last kind of 8-9 years. And it's a really, really growing program. And yet to me, it really is only just beginning. You know, I hear the questions that are coming out, the desire for more funding, for more impact. We need to make this happen to a far, far larger extent. And I would just reflect on some of the words that we use around this conference, around being stronger together, about collaborating, about communicating, about our own resilience, you know, in our own organizations, our desire to keep going. When we don't have the funding, how do we keep going? You know, when we're not on a particular pilot list, how do we keep going? These are the challenges that we face, and I think as a network, we're stronger together when we share our frustrations, we share our ideas, we explore different perspectives, and we keep moving forward. You know, many of you will know Terry Gibson, who was very influential in the creation and development of this idea way back. And I'm sure when Terry and Marcus and those other people involved right at the start, and some of you are here today too, you would never have dreamed, you know, that the impact of Views from the Frontline. We heard beautiful words from Papiloa there. You know, the impact of Frontline, it is having an impact, and really there is so much more to go. So you know, so much further to go. So I'm just reflecting on some of the conversations, reflecting on conversations we've had over the last 8-9 years as this program has developed. And it seems to me that this is there's a tremendous potential, but we need to stay stronger together as we develop that. So, thank you. Sorry, I got a bit emotional there because it's important, it's so important. Okay, so before we move to a break, we want to take a photo of us all here together, you know, stronger together. Very, very conscious that there are many, many people who wanted to be here this week who weren't able to join us. Many, many members who wanted to be here but weren't able to join us because we couldn't fund, 500 requests to be here, etc., etc. And it's an opportunity for us to kind of take a photo of us together and then share some of the messages out and about as we move forward. And before we do that, I'm going to invite one of the GNDR trustees, Ononi Chadburn, who's been involved right from the beginning, just to say a few words in terms of where we've come from, what's been important about that, and we will then somehow have the logistical challenge of all getting together on this stage, and we'll have a group photo together. But before we do that, Ononi.
Great, well it is amazing and wonderful to be here. This is my third global summit. I only missed one of them because I was having a baby at the time, I think, so I think that was a legitimate excuse. But I am really delighted to be here, and I'm just going to talk about someone who I think many of us know, but many of us in the room won't, and I think that's actually testimony to the fact of the growth of the membership and the change in the dynamics. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Marcus. And tell you a little bit about the person who was the founding passion. I think you've heard Zen a little bit say about the time in 2006 when we spoke a little bit about this idea, and I was in the room at the time. It was a very small side room in UNISDR offices in Geneva, and they were saying, we've got this list of civil society organisations, an email group, and we don't quite know what to do with it. And Marcus was my boss at the time, and on the plane on the way home, he said to me, I get so frustrated. I get so frustrated with the way that there is a lack of action. We want to see Hyogo, which was what the predecessor was to Sendai, We want to see Hyoga actually have a significant impact. This is not going to get to the people who matter. This is not going to get to the people who count. And he was significantly passionate about people. About people. And I really want to emphasize that you are in this room today because someone had a vision. Marcus moved on from GNDR in January, and you know, he'd spent 10 years of his heart and his passion, and I have to say to you, it's been a tough journey. There was times when it was only him, and he was sponsored by Tier Fund, the organisation I work for, to launch it off, but we didn't know quite where to go. Had a passion to actually create that information and that evidence to say, you governments, I say you're doing well with Hyoga, but let me tell you something else. And I can really tell you that first global platform where Views from the Frontline came out, Clouds but Little Rain, my goodness. It had serious impact. And it had serious impact because he was keen to make sure that the voices of the people came to the fore. And you know, this time last year, it's not just individual organisations that had a funding crisis. The GNDR had a funding crisis. This time last year, it was even unthinkable to bring you together for a summit. You know, but the heart and the passion and the commitment to follow through and make sure that there is money available to keep on bringing this amazing group of people together. And the fact that there are new people in the room who don't even know who Marcus is actually testament to it. And one of the things I immediately noticed when I came through into this room was the fact that buzz that was here at the beginning of the week was great. It was natural, it's there. We are an institution now. And there is a founding father, but that founding father has left a great strength, and his passion and his heart was around stronger together. And even when you feel you're having tough times, pick up the phone to someone who you know feels the same way as you. When you don't know how to navigate that campaign, go on that community platform and actually ask someone who's actually navigated that campaign with their own local government. When you're feeling like you don't know what to put in that funding proposal, go and ask someone from the GNDR Secretariat, I'm struggling a bit, can you give me some ideas? And that was all because there were a few people who said, yes, we also believe in this, Marcus, and we'll get behind you. So there was an early steering committee, and it was comprised of people like Rod, and Zen was a passionate advocate of ours within ISDR itself. And these people came alongside. So you're here today because of the vision of one man, but I want to say to you, it is your vision now. It is your collective vision now. But equally, we want to acknowledge Marcus, we want to say thank you to Marcus, and just like Andy, I too was getting quite emotional by that video. Nothing in that video would have happened without the idea of one single person saying, we can do something different. We can be something different. We should be something different. The people who matter are the people whose lives are every day affected. It's not that government institution, it's the people who's lost everything because of that flood that comes in year on year. And I'm just going to end with this story. 4 years ago, I was in the Philippines and I met a woman who was crying on my shoulder because she had 3 times in her lifetime, once as a young woman, once as a young girl, once as a young married family, and now as a grandmother, lost everything in a cyclone. And I'm going, why is that? That should not be. That should not be. We are more than capable in the 21st century of bringing all of these things together and saying, governments, you're the duty bearers, you can work with us, we're happy to work alongside with you, we can utilise our own capacities, but make sure you give us the time and the space and the voice to be able to tell you what's going on. And that is the kind of story that we know needs to keep us motivated, needs to keep us going further on. And that would be then an honour to the work that Marcus did.
Thank you, Anoni. Wonderful words. Okay, so part of the role of the Secretariat this week has to be listening to members to understand some of the requests that are coming in and how to support you with your work, and also raising funds, raising awareness, raising demand for this kind of activity. And these activities that will be taking place after the break are all designed around that. So there is an activity that will be taking place in here, led by Rohit, in terms of how to write a winning proposal, some core skills around that. There's an activity that's taking place in Crystal 1 and 2, straight opposite, in terms of designing national campaigns. There's another one around the value of social media and how to maximize social media for campaigns. And then there is the final session of the partnership brokering training, which has been getting some fantastic reviews. So many of you have signed up for that. So after the break, you have one of 4 options to take part in one of those activities. So hopefully they'll be helpful, particularly bearing in mind the conversations we've been having this morning in terms of widening, increasing, deepening the impact of Frontline. So before we do that, I need your help. So I need your help to join me on stage, and Jeff is, wherever Jeff is, Jeff's over here. Jeff is going to coordinate us. If we can come together here, we'll line up, and we have a little message for Marcus that we'll hold up as part of that photograph to say thank you, and come together as a group. So please come and join me on stage, and we'll be guided by Jeff.